Now we discuss the derivation of refractive index of a material of a prism. Now ఇక్కడ మనం పట్టకం యొక్క వక్రీభవన గుణకం కనుక్కోవడానికి ఫార్ములాని డిరైవ్ చేస్తాం. Here AB and AC are refracting surfaces. Here base is base of a prism. Here angle between AB and AC is called what? Angle of a prism. పట్టకోణం. ఇక్కడ మనకి ఈ N1 N2s here N1T N2T are normals. Suppose a ray of light PQ incident on the first refracting surface. On that time what happened? It refracts. Refraction means what? వక్రీభవనం. ఇక్కడ ఒక కాంతి ఇక్కడ PQ అనే పతన కిరణం ఇక్కడ Q వద్ద పతనమైనప్పుడు ఈ AB అనేది ఏంటిది? ఒక వక్రీభవన తలం. ఇక్కడ కాంతి వక్రీభవనం చెందుతుంది. అందువల్ల అదేమవుతుంది? ఇక్కడ నార్మల్ వైపు వంగుతుంది. Here if a light ray travels from PQ incident on the first refracting surface, it bends at PQ. Here light ray travels from air medium to glass medium, so it bends towards the normal. So actually in the absence of prism, light ray travels in the straight line path like this, but by the presence of prism, AB is first refracting surface. Here it refracts at Q. Now angle of incidence how much here? I1. Angle of refraction how much? R1. Here it incident at second refracting surface AC. Again it emergent. Light ray travels from denser medium to rarer medium, so it bends away from the normal. Now here angle of emergence is I2. So actually in the absence of light ray travels in the straight line path along PQ, but by the presence of prism, here we have two refracting surfaces. It has two refracting surfaces. So because of that, here light ray suffers two refractions, so it deviates. Now this is the deviation. Now deviation, what is deviation? Angle between incident ray and emergent ray. Angle between incident ray and emergent ray is called what? Angle of deviation. Here I1 I2, I1 is angle of incidence, I2 is angle of emergence. Now here from diagram, so anyhow ఇక్కడ ప్రిజం పట్టకం ఉండడం వల్ల ఈ పతన కాంతి కిరణం ఇక్కడ మనకి రెండు వక్రీభవన తలాలు ఉండడం వల్ల రెండు సార్లు వక్రీభవనం చెంది ఈ ఇక్కడ మనకు QR here suppose RS, it emergent as RS. So now here deviation how much? Here deviation D1. Here again deviation how much? Here deviation is like this. This is deviation D2. So on the time total deviation how much? D. Now in quadrilateral AQTR, quadrilateral AQTR, A plus angle Q, here it is 90 degrees. Here A plus 90 plus T plus 90 is equal to 360 degrees. Now A plus T is equal to how much? 360 minus 180. Here A plus T is equal to how much? A plus T is equal to 180 degrees. This is first equation. After that again now in triangle QTR, this is R. Now in triangle QTR, in triangle here in triangle QTR, in a triangle sum of angles how much 180 degrees. So in triangle QTR, R1 plus R2 plus T is equal to how much 180 degrees. Now compare these two equations. What we are getting? A plus T is 180 degrees, R1 plus R2 plus T is equal to 180 degrees. So what we understand now from equations here 1 and 2, we get here A is equal to how much? R1 plus R2. A is equal to R1 plus R2. So from this here, and this is third equation, and from fourth here deviation is equal to what we write? Total deviation. Total deviation is nothing but what? Up to here D1, again this is D2. Total deviation is D1 plus D2. Total deviation is D1 plus D2. D1 is equal to how much? Here yesterday already I told that light ray travels from direct to denser medium. Deviation how much? I1 minus R1. D1 value how much? D1 is equal to I1 minus R1, and D2 is equal to how much? D2 is equal to how much here? I2 minus R2. So from this we substitute now. A is equal to I1 minus R1 plus I2 minus R2. From this A is equal to I1 plus I2 minus R1 plus R2. But R1 plus R2 is equal to what? A. So from this A is equal to how much? Here R1 plus R2 is equal to how much we got? A from equation 3 here. Now this is deviation like this. Deviation is equal to what? I1 plus I2 minus R1 plus R2. From equation 3, R1 plus R2 is equal to what? A. So D is equal to how much? I1 plus I2 minus A. This is fourth equation. D is equal to how much? I1 plus I2 minus A. So you remember, now A is equal to what? Angle of prism. Angle of prism A is equal to how much? R1 plus R2. D is equal to how much? I1 plus I2 minus A. After that, a graph is drawn between angle of here incidence and angle of deviation for minimum deviation. Is it clear? Now, what are AB and AC are? AB and AC are refracting surfaces. BC is base of a prism. So compulsory you read this question. In regular classes you have here this derivation also there, and also in entrance examination here prism depends on prism has so many problems. So compulsory will get one problem on prism here. Now after that, now minimum deviation, after that we draw a graph between I and D. Here a graph is drawn between angle of incidence and angle of deviation. Is it clear? First of all, we take what are PQ? PQ is incident ray. What is RS? Emergent ray. What is D here? D means what? Deviation. Angle between incident ray and emergent ray. Angle between what? Incident ray and emergent ray is called angle of deviation. What is A? Apex angle or angle of prism. Apex angle or angle of prism. What is BC? Base of a prism. Now we discuss ID graph. ID graph. On the time here we take here I values on x axis, D values on y axis. On the time as angle of incidence increases, angle of deviation decreases, reaches minimum, again increases. Here for a particular angle of deviation we have here we have two, one is I1 and I2. Here for one deviation we have two angle of, one is angle of incidence, one is angle of emergence. So that's why here angle of incidence increases, angle of deviation decreases. At a particular value, at a particular minimum deviation, here I1, I2 are coincide. At minimum deviation, here I1, I2 are coincide. So that's why at this particular, at what angle I1 angle of incidence, angle of emergence coincide, that angle is called what? Minimum deviation. Minimum deviation. At minimum deviation, I1 is equal to I2. I1 is equal to I2, and A is equal to what we write? R1 is equal to R2. At minimum deviation, I1 is equal to I2 and R1 is equal to R2. Now what we are getting? A is equal to how much? R plus R. So A is equal to 2R. So R is equal to how much? A by 2. At minimum deviation, R is equal to A by 2, and deviation, minimum deviation is equal to what by formula? I1 plus I2 minus A. Here first of all we substitute in equation 3, R1 is equal to R2. Let it be R. Let R1 is equal to R2 is equal to what we take? Let R1 is equal to R2 is equal to R. On that time, A is equal to what from equation 3? Equation 3, what is that? A is equal to R1 plus R2. So we are getting A is equal to R is equal to how much? A by 2. And we substitute I1 is equal to I2 in fourth equation. Here in fourth equation, here we take like this. Here I1 is equal to I2 is equal to I on the time at minimum deviation. D minimum is equal to what? I plus I minus A. So D minimum deviation 2I minus A. Minimum deviation how much? 2I minus A. From this, here minimum deviation is 2I minus A. So on the time, here I is equal to how much? 2I minimum deviation 2I minus A. Where we take I1 is equal to I2, R1 is equal to R2 at minimum deviation. At minimum deviation only A is equal to 2R, R is equal to A by 2. Otherwise A is equal to how much? R1 plus R2. A is equal to R1 plus R2, and deviation, what is formula? Deviation is equal to what? I1 plus I2 minus A. But at minimum deviation D minimum is equal to what? I plus I minus A. So minimum deviation is equal to what? 2I minus A. 2I minus A. From this, 2I is equal to how much? A plus dm. A plus dm. I is equal to what? A plus dm by 2. A plus dm by 2. So mu is equal to what? Refractive index of a material of a prism. Mu is equal to what? Sin I by sin R. Mu is equal to sin I by sin R. So sin I how much? Sin I value how much? A plus dm by 2 by sin A by 2. Sin A plus dm by 2 by sin A by 2. This is the refractive index of a material of a prism. Refractive index of a material of a prism. Mu is equal to how much we got? Sin A plus dm by 2 by sin A by 2. What is A? Angle of prism. What is the dm? Minimum deviation. What is mu? Refractive index. Refractive index of a material of a prism. అంటే ఏంటి ఇక్కడ mu అంటే ఏంటి? పట్టకం యొక్క వక్రీభవన గుణకము. పట్టకం వక్రీభవన గుణకం mu. Mu is equal to ఏంటి ఫార్ములా మనకు? sin A plus dm by 2 by sin A by 2. What is A? A అంటే ఏంటి ఇక్కడ? యాంగిల్ ఆఫ్ ప్రిజం, పట్టక కోణము. పట్టక కోణము. Remember this formula, and also we have so many problems. And in case of small angled prism, here if the angle of the prism is less than 10 degrees, that is called what? Small angle, angle of the prism is less than 10 degrees, that is called what? Small angled prism. So on the time, here sin value is sin, for small angles sin 0 how much? 0. So sin 30 is 1 by 2. So for small angles sin theta is approximately equal to theta. For small angles sin theta is approximately equal to theta. So that's why here sin A by 2. Sin A by 2 is approximately equal to what? Approximately equal to A by 2, and sin A plus dm by 2. Sin A plus dm by 2 is approximately equal to what? A plus dm by 2. From this, mu is equal to what? A plus dm by 2 by A by 2. From this, 2 gets cancelled. So what we are getting now? A plus dm by A. We do cross multiplication. Mu A is equal to what? A plus dm. Now dm is equal to what? Mu A minus A. So from this, minimum deviation, here dm is equal to mu minus 1 into A. Mu minus 1 into A. In case of small angle prism, what we take formula? Deviation. Deviation is equal to what? Mu minus 1 into A. Mu minus 1 into A. As refractive index increases, deviation increases. As refractive index increases, deviation increases. Here for violet color, wavelength is less, so refractive index is more. So deviation is more. For red color light ray, wavelength is more, for red color light ray, wavelength is more, refractive index is less, deviation is less. Here deviation proportional to what we write? Deviation proportional to mu minus 1. Mu refractive index is more, deviation is more. Refractive index is less, deviation is less, like that. What is A? Angle of prism. When we are using this formula, this is for small angled prism. Small angled prism. Small angled prism అంటే ఏంటి? ఇక్కడ పట్టక కోణం less than 10 degrees ఉన్నప్పుడు ఆ ప్రిజాన్ని మనం స్మాల్ యాంగిల్ ప్రిజం అంటాం. అప్పుడు మనకి డీవియేషన్ ఫార్ములా అంటే డీవియేషన్ ఈజ్ ఈక్వల్ టు వాట్? మ్యూ మైనస్ 1 into A. One refracting surface and grazes the other refracting surface. Here suppose a ray of light incident normally and grazes the second refracting surface. Now this is the prism. A ray of light incident normally. A ray of light incident normally. Normal incidence and grazing emergence. We have special case. Normal incidence and grazing emergence. Grazing emergence. Grazing emergence. Here a ray of light incident normally. A ray of light incident normally. Grazing emergence. Yeah, a ray of light incident normally. I1 is equal to how much? 0. R1 is equal to how much? 0. Angle of incidence is 0. Angle of refraction also 0. Here angle of emergence how much? Emergent ray grazes the second refracting surface. Angle, how much angle here? What is angle of emergence? Angle made by the emergent ray with the normal. So how much here? 90 degrees. I2 value how much? 90 degrees. If angle of emergence is I2 is 90 degrees. What is critical angle? What is angle of your R2 value? R2 is C. What is C? C means what? Critical angle. Yesterday already I told that critical angle. What is critical angle? Angle of incidence for which angle of refraction is 90 degrees. Angle of incidence for which angle of refraction is 90 degrees is called what? Critical angle. So that's why refractive index. Now R2 is equal to what? C. C is equal to what? Here. Now A value C means what? Critical angle. C R theta C. Now angle of prism how much? A is equal to how much? R1 plus R2. A is equal to R1 how much? A represents what? Angle of a prism. Now here in case of normal incidence and grazing emergence, here so R1 value how much? 0. R2 how much? C. So angle of prism is equal to what? C. Critical angle only. Angle of prism is equal to what? Critical angle. And also here angle of incidence is equal to what? Critical angle. Now deviation how much? Deviation is equal to what by formula? I1 plus I2 minus A. Deviation. Deviation how much? I1 plus I2 minus A. So deviation is equal to I1 how much? 0. I2 how much? 90 degrees. A how much? A. C. So deviation is equal to how much? 90 minus C. Like that we have here in case of a ray of light incident normally. A ray of light incident normally what we take? Normally. Here a ray of light incident normally. అంటే ఏంటి ఇక్కడ? A incident ray grazes the normal. Incident ray grazes normally. So incident grazes the normal. So that's why angle of incidence how much? 0. What is angle of incidence? Angle made by the incident ray with the normal. Angle made by the incident ray with the normal. So I1 is 0, R1 is 0, I2 value how much? Here and grazes the second refracting surface. Grazes the second refracting surface. So I2 is 90, R2 how much? C. So A is equal to what? R1 plus R2. A is equal to how much? C. Now deviation how much? Deviation is equal to how much? I1 plus I2 minus A. I1 how much? 0. I2 how much? 90 degrees. A how much? Critical angle. So deviation how much? 90 minus C. 90 minus C. And also next we have grazing incidence and grazing emergence. ఇక్కడ ఈ పతన కిరణము లంబంగా పతనమైంది. లంబంగా పతనమైతే యాంగిల్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్సిడెన్స్ ఎంత? ఇక్కడ పతన కోణం ఎంత అవుతుంది? 0 అవుతుంది. నెక్స్ట్ వన్ here grazing incidence and grazing emergence. Next we have grazing incidence and grazing emergence. Grazing incidence and grazing emergence like this. Here this is the prism. Now, here grazing incidence, a ray of light grazes the first refracting surface, and grazing emergence like this. So, I1 value how much here? 90 degrees. I2 value how much? 90 degrees. So, I1 is 90 degrees, grazing incidence and grazing emergence, I2 also 90 degrees. R1 value how much? Critical angle, R2 value how much? Critical angle. So, now the angle of the prism how much? A is equal to how much? R1 plus R2. So, A is equal to how much? R1 how much? C, C plus C, 2C. Now, here A is equal to 2C. Now, deviation how much? I1 plus I2 minus A. So, I1 how much? Deviation how much? I1 is 90 degrees, I2 is 90 degrees. A how much? 2C. Now, deviation how much we are getting? 180 minus 2C. Deviation is 180 minus 2C, like that. A ray of light incident normally and grazes here. A ray of light here, incident ray grazes the first refracting surface and emergent ray grazes the second refracting surface. So, on the time angle of the prism how much? 2 into C. C అంటే ఏంటి ఇక్కడ? క్రిటికల్ యాంగిల్, సందిగ్ధ కోణం. పట్టక కోణం అనేది ఈ సందిగ్ధ కోణానికి ఈ 2 రెట్లు ఉంటుంది. డీవియేషన్ ఎంత ఇక్కడ మనకు 180 minus 2C. 180 minus 2C. That is the deviation. Now, and also here already I told that here in case of at minimum deviation, is it clear? First of all, when we are taking this, what is this case? A ray of light here for grazing incidence and grazing emergence. Grazing incidence and grazing emergence means what? A ray of light grazes the first refracting surface and emergent ray grazes the second refracting surface. Emergent ray grazes the second refracting surface. Now, deviation is equal to how much? 180 minus 2C. Here angle of the prism is equal to 2 into C. What is C? C represents what? Critical angle, సందిగ్ధ కోణము. What is A? పట్టక కోణము. పట్టక కోణం ఎంత మనకు? 2C. ఇక్కడ ఏని మనం ఏమంటాం? పట్టక కోణం ఆరా లేదా వక్రీభవన కోణం అంటాం. ఇక్కడ AB AC అనేది ఏంటి? AB అనేది ఒక వక్రీభవన తలం, AC కూడా ఇంకొక వక్రీభవన తలం. ఈ వక్రీభవన తలాల మధ్యలో ఉన్న కోణాన్ని మనం ఏమంటాం? వక్రీభవన కోణం అంటాం. అందువల్ల ఏని ఏమంటాం? పట్టక కోణం లేదా వక్రీభవన కోణం అంటాం. On that time, at minimum deviation, here I1 I2 is same and R1 R2 also same. That's why here this light ray passes through the prism is parallel to the base. At minimum deviation position, here light ray passes through the prism is parallel to the base. Like that, you remember that also. Now, suppose this is QR is parallel to BC. Like that. Here what we have question? XZ plane. You understand question first of all. Here what is given here? U1 bar. First of all, XZ plane separates two media A and B. XZ plane separates two media A and B of refractive indices. mu1 is equal to what? 1.5 and mu2 is equal to 2. A ray of light travels from A to B. Its directions in two media are given by what? 2 unit vectors. First of all, we take like this. This is the XZ plane. This is normal. Now, on the time a ray of light like this. Now, direction how much here? U1 bar. Again here U2 bar. Here, so on the time this angle how much here? Angle of incidence how much? I direction U1 bar how much? AI cap plus BJ cap. U2 bar how much? CI cap plus BJ cap. Now we want to calculate value of A by C. This is first medium. Now this is first medium, this is second medium. A medium, B medium, like this. Mu1 how much? Mu1 is 1.5, mu2 is 2. Now from this, here U1 bar, AI plus BJ. Now tan I how much? Tan I is equal to what we write? Here what is given here? Directions given. U1 bar is AI cap plus Bj cap, and U2 bar how much? Ci cap plus Bj cap. Ci cap plus Bj cap. From this, tan I how much? Tan I is equal to what? What is direction here? Opposite side by adjacent side. So what is that? A by B. Tan I is A by B. Again, tan R how much? Angle of refraction how much? R. This is the angle of refraction is R. Now here angle of refraction is R. Now tan R is equal to what we take? Tan R is equal to C by B. From this, mu is equal to what? Sin I by sin R. Refractive index, what is formula? Refractive index, mu is equal to what? Sin I by sin R. Now refractive index of second medium with respect to the first medium, mu2 1. mu2 1 is equal to what? Sin I by sin R. Sin I by sin R. So from this, mu value, mu2 1 means what? mu2 by mu1. mu2 by mu1. From this, what we are getting now? mu1 sin I is equal to mu2 sin R. mu1 sin I is equal to what? mu2 sin R. Here we calculate what is the value, what is question now? Find the value of A by C. We want to calculate value of A by C. Now note down. Here sin I how much? Tan I is A by B. Tan I is A by B. We calculate sin I value. How we calculate now? Here this is triangle. Now this is I. Tan I how much? A by B. So this becomes what? Hypotenuse becomes what? Root of A square plus B square. Now sin I how much? Sin I how much? Sin I is equal to A by under root of A square plus B square. A square plus B square. In the same way, tan R how much? C by B. Tan R is equal to C by B. So sin R is equal to what we are getting? C by under root of C square plus D square. Same story. Here we construct triangle R C by D. So this becomes what? Under root of C square plus D square. So sin R becomes what? C by under root of C square plus D square. C by under root of C square plus D square. We substitute now. mu1 value how much? 1.5. Substitute now. Here mu1 value how much now? What we have now? mu1 sin I is equal to mu2 sin R. From this, sin I how much? 1.5. Here sin I how much? A by under root of A square plus B square is equal to 2 into C by sin R value how much? C by under root of A square plus C square plus D square. What are U1 bar, U2 bar given here? U1 bar, U2 bar are unit vectors. U1 bar, U2 bar are unit vectors. So that's why magnitude of U1 is equal to what? Under root of A square plus B square is equal to what? 1. Unit vector. A unit vector means what? A vector whose magnitude is 1, unity. Again, magnitude of U2 bar how much? Magnitude of U2 bar also equal to what? C square plus D square is equal to 1. So that's why here 1.5. Here what we are getting now? Here A by C, A by 1 into C is equal to 2 by 1.5 into 1. From this, here A by C is equal to 20 by 15, 5 4s, 5 3s. So what is the answer now? 4 by 3. A by C value how much? 4 by 3. Is it clear? Yesterday already I told that diffractive index, what is formula? If a light ray travels from one medium to other medium, what is formula? Snell's law, mu2 1 is equal to what? Sin I by sin R. mu2 1 is equal to sin I by sin R. Now sin I, mu2 1 means what? mu2 with respect 1 means what? mu2 by mu1. mu2 by mu1. So mu1 sin I is equal to what? mu2 sin R, like that. Here what we have question now? A prism has a refracting angle. A prism has a refracting angle of 60 degrees. Refracting angle means what? Angle of a prism, Patak Konam, 60 degrees. Placed in the position of minimum deviation. Position of minimum deviation, it produces a deviation. Minimum deviation how much here? dm. Minimum deviation is equal to 30 degrees. Find the angle of incidence. Angle of incidence means what? I1. I1 is equal to how much? How we calculate now? Minimum deviation, what is formula? Minimum deviation is equal to 2i minus a. Minimum deviation is equal to what by formula? 2i minus a. Now, remember this formula directly, I told this derivation also. Here, prism is in the minimum deviation position. Prism is in the minimum deviation position, what is formula? 2i minus a. What is I? Angle of the prism. Here, in minimum deviation position, angle of incidence and angle of emergence are equal. Angle of incidence and angle of emergence are equal. So, what is formula for minimum deviation? 2i minus a. Now, from this, 2i is equal to how much? dm plus a. So, from this, I is equal to how much? A plus dm by 2. I is equal to how much? A plus dm by 2. From this, I is equal to a. A how much? Angle of the prism 60 degrees. Minimum deviation how much? 30. 60 plus 30. Here I is equal to how much? 90 by 2. 90 by 2 how much? 2 ones 245. Here what is the answer now? 45 degrees. Angle of incidence. Here I represents what? Angle of incidence only. Angle of incidence is 45 degrees. Angle of emergence also 45 degrees. Light falls at normal incidence. Already I told that normal incidence. Like this. Light falls at normal incidence on one face of a glass prism of refractive index how much? √2. Normal incidence means what? I1 is 0. Angle of incidence is 0, angle of refraction also 0. Normal incidence means what? Angle of incidence is 0, angle of emergence also 0. Here angle of incidence I1 is 0 and angle of refraction also R1 is 0. Here one face of a glass prism of refractive index how much? √2. Mu value how much? √2. Mu is √2. Find the here angle of emergence when the angle of prism is 45 degrees. Here we want to calculate angle of prism is 45 degrees. We want to calculate angle of emergence. Angle of emergence. How we calculate now? Here angle of the prism we know. A is equal to what? Here suppose here like this. It emergent, this is the normal. It emergent like this. They are asking I2. They are asking I2. How we calculate? Angle of incidence is 0. Angle of refraction R1 is 0. R2 how much now? A is equal to what? R1 plus R2. A is equal to R1 plus R2. From this, A value how much? 45 degrees. So, from this R1 is 0, R2 is equal to what? 45 degrees. Now, R2 is equal to 45 degrees. 0 plus R2 how much? R2. R2 is equal to what we got now? 45 degrees. Now, we want to calculate I2. Refractive index we know. We know refractive index of the material of a prism how much? √2. Mu is equal to what by formula according to Snell's law? Mu is equal to sin I by sin R. So, now from this here mu is equal to, from this mu is equal to sin I2 by sin R2. Mu is equal to how much? Sin I2 by sin R2. From this here mu value how much? Mu is √2. Mu is √2 is equal to sin I2 by sin R2 how much? Sin 45 degrees. So, from this sin I2 is equal to √2 into sin 45, √2 into sin 45. Now, from this here sin I2 is equal to √2 into sin 45 how much? 1 by √2. So, √2 gets cancelled. Now, is equal to what? Sin I2 is equal to 1. Look here, we have like this. Here from this sin I2 is equal to 1. Sin I2 is equal to how much? We got 1. For which angle sin value 1? Sin 90 degrees. So, sin I2 is equal to sin 90 degrees. So, I2 is equal to how much? We are getting 90 degrees. Okay, so, what is the answer now? I2 is equal to 90 degrees. Angle of emergence how much? 90 degrees. Is it clear? What is given question? Here light falls normal incidence. Normal incidence means what? ఇక్కడ కాంతి కిరణం మొదటి వక్రీభవన తలం మీద లంబంగా పతనమైనది. నార్మల్ ఇన్సిడెన్స్ లంబంగా పతనమైంది, అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది? యాంగిల్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్సిడెన్స్ పతన కోణం ఎంత అవుతుంది? I1 is 0, R1 also 0. Now A is equal to what by formula? R1 plus R2. So R1 is 0, so R2 becomes what? A only. What is A? Angle of the prism. Pattaka konam R2 is 45 degrees. Now we want to calculate angle of emergence. What is given? Angle of prism is 45 degrees. So now here mu is equal to what? Sin I2 by sin R2 root 2 sin I2 by R2 how much? 45 degrees. So sin I2 is equal to 1. Sin I2 is equal to 1 means what? For which angle sin value 1? ఏ కోణానికి sin value 1 అవుతుంది మనకి? sin 90 degrees. అప్పుడు ఏమొస్తుంది? Angle of emergence. Angle of emergence how much we are getting? 90 degrees. So what is the answer now? 90 degrees. Note down. Now look here. If a light ray incident normally, on one of the faces of the prism, normal means what? Here already I told that angle of incidence is 0. You are doing problem within short period, so no need to draw diagrams. So from a ray of light incident normally, already I told that a ray of light incident normally means what? Angle of incidence is 0, angle of refraction also 0. I1 is 0, R1 is 0. Here incident normally on one of the face of the prism of refractive index how much? 2. Mu is equal to 2. Okrivana gunakam 2. And emergent ray just grazes the second phase of the prism. Emergent ray grazes means what? I2 is 90 degrees. R2 becomes what? Critical angle. R2 becomes critical angle. Now we want to calculate angle of deviation. Find the angle of deviation. Deviation how we represent? Capital D, small d like this. Angle of deviation. Small d represents what? Deviation. Here how we calculate now? Deviation is equal to what by formula? I1 plus I2 minus A. I1 plus I2 minus A. Now angle of the prism is given here. Angle of the prism not given. Now here deviation given. Here so we want to calculate deviation only. Deviation is equal to what by formula? I1 plus I2 minus A. I1 we know, I2 also we know. A we don't know. But we calculate now R2 value. A is equal to what? R1 plus R2. A is nothing but what? R2 only. So we calculate critical angle. So first of all, mu is equal to how much? Sin I2 by sin R2. Mu is equal to how much? Sin I2 by sin R2. From this, here mu value how much? Mu is 2. Here mu is nothing but 2. Now from this, sin I2, sin 90 degrees by sin R2 is equal to what? 2. From this, here sin 90 how much? 1. 1 is equal to what? 2 into sin R2. 2 into sin R2. Now from this, sin R2 is equal to how much? Sin R2 is equal to 1 by 2. For which angle sin value 1 by 2? Sin 30 degrees. Sin R2 is equal to sin 30 degrees. So R2 is equal to 30 degrees. R2 value how much? 30 degrees. But according to question, R2 is equal to what? Critical angle. So critical angle also 30 degrees. Now what is formula for deviation? Deviation is equal to how much? I1 plus I2 minus A. Deviation is equal to I1 plus I2 minus A. Now I1 how much here? 0. I2 how much? 90 degrees. A how much? Here A is equal to what? R1 plus R2. A is equal to how much now? R1 plus R2. Now R1 how much? 0. R2 how much? 30 degrees. So A is equal to how much? 30 degrees only. So from this, A is 30 degrees. Now deviation is equal to 90 minus 30 how much? 60 degrees. So this only answer now. Angle of deviation how much here? 60 degrees. That only note down. A ray of light passes. A ray of light passes through an equilateral prism such that equilateral prism such that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of incidence is equal to angle of emergence, angle of incidence is equal to angle of emergence, and the later and is equal to and is equal to 3/4 of here 3/4 of the angle of the prism, 3/4 of the angle of prism. Find the angle of deviation. Find the angle of deviation. Then find the angle of deviation. We have question like this. Here, first you understand question, you read problem 2-3 times. First you understand question, after that you think about solution. Now, here, what we have now? A ray of light passes through an equilateral prism. Equilateral prism is what? Angle of prism how much? 60 degrees. Equilateral. Samabahu tribhujam. Here, Samabahu Pattakam. Here, Samabahu tribhujam అంటే angle of the రెండు భుజాల మధ్యలో కోణం ఎంత అవుతుంది అప్పుడు మనకు 60 degrees. Here, equilateral prism is what? Samabahu Pattakam. So, Samabahu Pattakamlo angle of the prism ఎంత అవుతుంది మనకు పట్టక కోణం 60 degrees. Such that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of emergence. Angle of incidence is equal to what? Angle of emergence, and is equal to 3/4 of the angle of the prism. 3/4 of the angle of the prism. Angle of the prism how much? 60 degrees. So 3/4 into 60. 4 ones 4 15. 15 threes how much? 45 degrees. Angle of incidence and angle of emergence how much? 45 degrees. Then find the angle of deviation. We want to calculate angle of deviation. What is formula for angle of deviation? Deviation is equal to how much? Here I1 is equal to I2. I1 is equal to I2 means what? It is minimum deviation position. So deviation is equal to how much? 2I minus A. Otherwise I1 plus I2 minus A. I1 plus I2 minus A. How much here? 45 plus 45 minus 60 degrees. 45 minus 45 plus 45 90. 90 minus 60 30 degrees. Deviation how much here? 30 degrees. So that 30 degrees only correct answer. Is it clear? Now given, what is given? A ray of light passes through an equilateral prism. Equilateral prism is what? Angle of the prism how much? 60 degrees. Equilateral prism is what? Samabahu Pattakamu. Samabahu tribhujanlo manaku rendu bhujala madhyalo konam enta 60 degrees. So angle of prism is 60 degrees, and also given angle of incidence and angle of emergence is 3/4 of angle of prism. So we substitute. So what is formula for deviation? Deviation is equal to what? I1 plus I2 minus A. A ray of light incident on an equilateral prism. Equilateral prism is what? Angle of prism how much? 60 degrees. Shows minimum deviation of 30 degrees. Minimum deviation, D minimum is equal to 30 degrees. Find the speed of light through the prism. So now prism is what? Glass medium. Whatever here, speed of light in a prism, what we take? Suppose let it be Vm. Vm is equal to how much? How we calculate now? Here, refractive index of a medium. Refractive index of material of a prism how much? Mu medium is equal to what by formula? Sin A plus dm by 2 by sin A by 2. And also, according to wave theory, mu is equal to what? Here absolute refractive index, c by velocity of light in medium. Here last class already explained. Now, now mu is equal to what way formula? Sin A plus dm by 2. Sin A plus dm by 2 by sin A by 2. And is also equal to what we write? C by velocity of light in medium. C by velocity of light in medium. We substitute now. Here we know angle of prism and angle minimum deviation. What is C? C how much? Speed of light. You remember that. Speed of light in air or vacuum how much? 3 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. Speed of light in air or vacuum how much? 3 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. Now we substitute now. Here mu value how much? Here mu value we don't know, but we know angle of prism and minimum deviation. We substitute now. Here from this sin A how much? 60. 60 plus 30 by 2 by sin A how much? 60 degrees is equal to C. C how much? Later we substitute 3 into 10 to the power of 8. From this here 60 plus 30 how much? 90 degrees. From this here C how much? 3 into 10 to the power of 8 by velocity of light in medium is equal to sin here 90 by 2. 90 by 2 how much? Sin 45. Sin 30. Sin 30 degrees. 2 ones 230 degrees. Here 60 plus 30 how much? 90. So 2 ones 245 degrees. Sin 45 how much? 1 by root 2. So from this here sin 45 is 1 by root 2 by sin 30 how much? 1 by 2. So we are getting 1 by root 2 into 2. So we are getting, what is that? Root 2. So root 2. Here, so 3 into 10 to the power of 8 is equal to root 2 into what? Here V velocity of light in medium. So from this, is it clear now? Here 1 by root 2 by 1 by 2. 1 by root 2 by 1 by 2 how much? Otherwise next step I write like this. Here 3 into 10 to the power of 8 by velocity of light in medium is equal to what? 1 by root 2 into 2 by 1. So root 2. From this, so velocity of light in medium is equal to what? 3 into 10 to the power of 8 by root 2. So 3 by root 2 into 10 to the power of 8. Root 2 value how much? 1.414. 1.4. It is around 2 point something. Root 2 value how much? 1.4. 1.4. Root 2 value is how much? 1.4. So we are getting 2 point something we are getting. So what is the answer now? 3 by root 2 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. Otherwise you simplify. Velocity of light in medium is equal to what we write now? 3 by 1.4 into 10 to the power of 8. Means what? 30 by 14. 30 by 14 how much? 2 to 14 2 how much? 28. So 2.1. 2.1 into 10 to the power of 8 meter per second. A thin prism of 4 degrees. A thin prism of 4 degrees angle. A thin prism of 4 degrees angle gives a deviation. Of 2.4. Deviation 2.4. Here we have question, find the value of refractive index of material of the prism. Find the refractive index of a material of a prism. Index of material of a prism. We have question, a thin prism of 4 degrees angle. A thin prism of 4 degrees angle gives a deviation of 2.4. 4 degrees means what? It is small angled prism. 4 degrees means what? Small angled prism. Here for small angled prism. Now small angled prism, so A is equal to how much? 4 degrees. Deviation how much we have? 2.4. They are asking question, find the refractive index of a material of a prism. So mu is equal to how much? Here what by formula? deviation for small angle prism, how much deviation is equal to how much? Mu minus 1 into A. Deviation is equal to mu minus 1 into A. Now deviation how much here? 2.4. 2.4 is equal to mu minus 1, A how much? 4. So from this, here mu minus 1 is equal to 2.4 by 4. So 4 ones, 4 0.6. So 0.6. Now mu minus 1 is equal to 0.6. From this, here mu is equal to how much? 1 plus 0.6. So what is the answer now? Mu value how much? 1.6. Is it clear? So when we are using this formula, in case of small angled prism, ఇక్కడ పట్టక కోణం 10 డిగ్రీల కంటే తక్కువగా ఉన్నదాన్ని మనం ఏం చేస్తాం? చిన్న ప్రిజంగా కన్సిడర్ చేస్తాం. అప్పుడు మనం స్మాల్ యాంగిల్డ్ ప్రిజం, అప్పుడు స్మాల్ యాంగిల్డ్ ప్రిజంకి మనకి ఫార్ములా ఏంటి? డీవియేషన్ mu minus 1 into A. What is A? Angle of prism. Just you substitute. You are getting answer how much? 1.6.